Hello, my name is Spirit, or at least that's the online nickname I choose to go by. Anyway, welcome to this sort of voice or podcasting or whatever you would like to call it. But it's more of my self recording of random things I would probably talk about. You might find something interesting here, but I suggest you play this while you're doing something else as uh, highly doubt that there will be an interesting train of thought that you might find here. So, first things first, I apologize for any bad microphone issues you might be finding from me, being how I'm not really recording this on a microphone as much as I'm recording this on an actual phone. So, there's not really a whole lot of how do I put this? It's not really high quality, but it's something. And that's the something that I will be used to document anything I would like to say and probably release. But anyway, let's get straight to the point. I am the one who created the four squares, and my most popular work is Keep Fusion, which is then turn which has its own fan game, which is Keep Combination. And as you might know from my recent video postings, and what you're probably here for, is that I am now a developer of it. So, you might be wondering, how did this come to be? As in, the original create. So this person made a game who had a fan game, and now the person who made that game, which the fan game was based on, is now working on that fan game. It's kind of just why not? There's no you might be coming here expecting like some like on those TED talks, or well, not really TED. I don't think I've ever even watched a TED talk, but you might be expecting one of those developer stories where they had some big motivation, big reason, like some world changing goal, which I do have myself, but it's not very big. But you're not going to be finding that here, not in a while. You're here for the Lego game you're here for the Lego game commentary, all right? We don't have high expectations off the bat. You're hearing a 16-year-old ramble. Anyway, let's move on. First, Leggies, let's do an actual proper introduction. I'm a Roblox developer. I script. I can animate a bit, but not as good as the people who I am friends with. I can also do a kind of a bit of other things, but only scripting really. And other things I'm not good at in general. I can do, but not proficient in, or at least not good enough for for public game standards. But in the end, I'm also just a beginner developer. But the main thing I am mostly praised for, and also the main thing why I was able to, why I was chosen to develop for Cube Combinations to update is, well, game design. I don't necessarily think game design is that hard, but it's probably different for others. So I can't say much. So let's move on to the second thing. Why develop for Cube Combination? You have Cube Fusion, so shouldn't you be working on your own game instead of working for a fan game, or it's just more of you don't really have any further questions or any further reason other than to ask why? So let's get to it. Uh, like I mentioned before, there's no big reason, but you might note that I did actually work with Cube Combination before in the past, but this is only for me being an administrator, not exactly the developer like right now. Yes, I did. Yes, I do work with them before, and yes, we're acquainted. But no, that does not mean I work for the game itself. There was actually quite a common misconception back in the day, about a year ago, when people sometimes would refer to me for help in their game and not for the fact that I'm and forgetting that the administrator doesn't exactly mean the person who has access to the game and to the server at the same time. Moving on. The actual okay, how do you keep For the exact reason why I wanted to develop for Keep Combination, well, that it involves a bit of history, but it's not like a lot. So I'll try my best to summarize it in the shortest way possible, while also saving a bit of time because it's quite late at night and I'm recording this. So okay, let's see. Um, Cube Fusion, that was the original game. I developed on it for about a while, I think a year or so, before I stopped and discontinued the current project. No, the actually no, no, not discontinued, scrapped the project. And no, it's scrapped as in I will discontinue this current iteration and I will revisit it and will probably revisit it in the future. But this is not the future, this is the present. So Cube Fusion is effectively currently discontinued. I made other projects after that, but I still kept in touch with CC. When CC was rather new and when it didn't have any back then CC only had like two bosses at best. So I decided to work with them because why not? Um, so long story short, Cube Combination is not the game you know that it is right now. It has a lot of players. I forgot what's the peak player base peak concurrent, but I think it was around the 2000 CCU range. Uh, about five times the. I think it used to have an average of 2K CCU back then, which is about five times Keep Fusion's peak. So quite a high sum for a fan game. If you're wondering, no, I don't really feel jealous about it. It's their game, so yeah, the only thing that matters is if the game is actually good. So that's why I'm developing right now. But that's for later. That's for later in this recording. So okay, continuing on. Uh, CC had a Discord server, and and before like that Discord server was created, I gave Azuki 10k Robux, so to start the sponsorship of the game, which also to sponsor the game, something like that. I don't know why I mentioned that. It's not all that important, but anyway. In the early days, I started as an administrator for their Discord server. I quote unquote helped get things up to speed. I was mostly the enforcer, or at least I made the rules, or at least the first draft of rules. It's not very good. It doesn't stand up, and to be honest, my memory of it is quite fuzzy. I'm not really known for having the best memory, even among my friends, both online and offline. As if like I have offline friends, but anyway. But yeah, I was an administrator, then resigned. Well, technically I resigned, came back as administrator, but that's a whole other issue, and that involves past drama, which is no longer really related anymore. So skip forward a year. Uh, skip forward a year. I made. It's just. Fuck. Skip. skip. Hold on. Give me some time to think. I'm losing my train. I thought line of thinking here because for some reason I'm having a stroke. Okay. Okay. Fast forward a year. At that time I'm no longer an administrator. Effectively resigned because don't forget I have my own games. I'm a developer of Cube Combination, but not a developer, not the developer, and that I also have my own projects, as you may know, especially Deviant, Dummies versus Noobs, Irony for Dominion. And no, just because it has Dummies versus Noobs doesn't mean that I am like working under Sensei. That's not true. I don't know. That's a rumor that exists, and I would like to make that people know that isn't true. But back to CC because we're stretched this to 9 minutes. Okay. Um, I forgot what I was doing at the time, but I think I was in like an inactive development period where I wasn't necessarily doing anything. But Quirton, one of the developers, I think went to my DMs to ask to ask me if I could help in their new update, which is keep CC the return. I think this interaction happened about 4 or so months ago. I don't remember the exact date. I think if we search hard enough, I can find it eventually, but it was pretty long time ago. Well, not a long time ago, but let me double check. Uh, I was first contacted somewhere around May. Yeah. I was contacted somewhere around May, or maybe a bit before the start of May, to if I can help with this new update. Now, why not? I've been making nothing but because at the time I've been developing DB and RTD, and I've mostly been working with modern like gun stuff for basically nearly half a year at that point. So I wanted to branch off into going back to my roots because Cube Fusion was my first serious project. Sure, there was the tower defense game before Cube Fusion. No, I haven't forgotten about it. Please leave me alone. I don't want to be rated in my DMs about TDGT anymore. But anyway, uh, Cube Fusion was my first serious project, and it was the project I spent the most amount of time working on. And while I do like the idea, I can't really work on Cube Fusion anymore. It's not necessarily because I don't like Cube Fusion, but the game itself, it's poorly coded. It's string together with hopes and dreams. I'd argue the optimization on that game is worse than Yandere Simulator, but but that's a pretty far reach. I'm very sure any game that has like 50 memory leaks will perform better than Yandere Simulator. You won't forget that toothbrush. That toothbrush probably had more triangles than 2B. But anyway, um, you might know that this is not if you were in the CC community, this wasn't the first time I've been contacted to help with an update. If I recall, this might have happened twice before. Actually, no, it only happened once, I think. This is to help with the Halloween update. However, as you might know nowadays, the Halloween update never came to be. So, if you're wondering, the reason behind that was to put it really quickly. I develop on my laptop. Any sort of development work I do, it's on my laptop. And at the time, my laptop just happened to lose the charger. And right now I use an Asus laptop, but at the time I used the MacBook, and I lost the MacBook charger. Well, not really lost the MacBook charger. The MacBook charger simply broke. Well, technically, if I wanted to become specific, I could still use it, but it's gonna start sparking every time you put it. Like it started sparking one time, and I'm pretty sure that's the cue to stop using it. As you know, I'm pretty sure electric anything combined with electricity that's like not where it's supposed to be is a bad sign. And this is Apple. I hate Apple. Apple products, they are not made to last and they are expensive to replace, and that's all you need to know, and that's why an entire update was never made. And the same goes for the Christmas update because if you recall, I decided that and surely replacing this laptop charger won't take us much time, so I decided to uh, push back the update all the way to Christmas. And even in Christmas, it did not arrive. I actually forgot if I planned the update to come. I actually forgot if I wanted to make if I was contacted 2 times or contacted 1 time until it decided I should merge the update with the Christmas update. But yeah, the charger loss incident was why you didn't get the proper Halloween and Christmas update that you were supposed to receive last year. Go me. So yeah, TLDR, even though this is an audio recording, that Christmas update for Cube Combination was supposed to be much more larger. Specifically, it was supposed to involve the addition of 2 new bosses. One Halloween boss, one Christmas boss, but that never came to be, unfortunately, because decided to I decided to make the massive mistake of owning an Apple laptop or an Apple product, so that's a problem. But that's all in the past. And this is mostly backstory. Don't forget, we have yet to get to the actual part. So anyway, fast forward to May of this year. I've been contacted once more to help on this new update. And this time, unlike the year before, I now have an Asus laptop, or at least something that isn't Apple. AKA, this laptop can actually help me work. And yeah, that's all you need to know. It's as long as it's not Apple, it will be smooth sailing, and it has been smooth sailing for the past 4 months. So yeah, I accepted the offer. It's not as if I wanted it for monetary reasons. I'm not even sure if I was asked to help for anything for monetary reasons. I'm pretty sure if I was asked to help, I didn't really ask for any specific pay amounts. But I did remember the original amount being like 20k, 40k Robux. I forgot. It I could search through DMs right now, but I'd rather not. Besides, the important part is that I still didn't start helping in this update for monetary. Just more of that I wanted the reason, a kind of excuse, if you will, to go back into developing fusion based bosses. Which, speaking of bosses, yeah, that's the main reason why I was that's the one main reason why Corton asked me to help with this update. Uh, as you may know, if you've played Cube Combination, the bosses are bad. I don't know how else to phrase it, but the current bosses of Cube Combination is just bad, and I honestly do not think they can. I honestly don't think that the Izuki nor the other developers, if they even exist, that they can make a better boss. Um, yes, I'm working with them. Yes, they will probably listen to this. No, I don't care because I will speak my mind, and that's been my. I'm not trying to be. I'm not really being rude about it as much as I'm being honest. The bosses are bad. That's simply about it. This is an opinion most people share as well. Or at least, even if they aren't bad, they aren't good. At best, you can say there was an attempt to make a boss in. I would detail about the problem with each boss, but I would rather not. The only thing that's important to this story is that I was asked to help with the boss is making, since that's what they specialize in. So you might, so if you've never really heard of me before, you might actually be curious on why. As in, sure, I made Cube Fusion, but I played Cube Fusion. And it's not really that good, even in the new in the test plays version. You have a point. It's not the best. It's not the best creation. You can, yeah, you have that if it was 2 years ago, because there's the test based version. The test based version, okay, yeah, sure. The test based version has very messy code, but at the same time it had good bosses. Um, and the creation of bosses has been something I've always liked. I always like making bosses. In fact, I'm pretty sure I've made 60% of my time spent on creating new content, and specifically new content, and not as if scripting frameworks and whatever. 60% of it has probably been spent on making a boss. But at the same time, I don't really make many enemies nor weapons nor such and such. I just like bosses in specific, and that's probably why Gordon seeked assistance from me. So yeah, so that's why I was asked to develop CC, and that's also why I want to develop CC. Like I mentioned, the bosses are bad. It's not as if no, it's if an insult, but I seem I really want to make something better. There's a kind of thing where you're presented with something, uh like you're presented with something bad. Like imagine being good at the game, right? From imagine Okay, from my perspective, imagine you're like someone who's really good at chess, like really good at chess. Obviously, I'm not at that skill level. I don't even play chess, but still, imagine someone being really good at chess, and then you just watch some like random guy make 50 blunders in a whole match. That's how I feel. You know, there's many ways to improve on that, and in fact, you can probably just make it a win streak every time. So that's the whole thing. So fuck. So yeah, that's about that. I could do better, and I will do better. So that's the whole reason why I wanted to work. And now let's move on to the update itself. We're at the 20-minute mark. We're finally talking about the actual game. Would you believe it? But yeah, there's not much to describe actually. You might be wanting to get a lot of info like, oh, what are you actually not? It's probably not that hard to describe, but at the same time, it's also difficult because there's a lot that I have made, but a lot I don't want to say. Um, so when I was approached to help in the update, and CC the return, that was the name. Initially, the update was actually was supposed to be much smaller, like really small actually. This update was not meant to be big at all. The original version of this update was supposed to have one boss, three mini bosses, and that's it. That's all it has. Nothing else. No new weapons, no reworks, no stat changes, no new features, no difficulties. Three mini bosses, one boss, and one new map location. That is everything. That's all it would have. And that was the original plan. Originally, it was supposed to be like that, but now it's turned into CC3. uh, if you're unaware, recently there was a decision that Cube Combination tree or CC tree would be merged with CCTR, aka those two updates will now kind of be merged together in a way. But it's not really as if like there will be a big delay in development time. The funny thing is that if you've looked at my past work, specifically the boss reworks, as you may mention, I like I said I didn't like how the current CC bosses were, and so one of the things I did was rework them, or at least plan to rework them, which apparently was something that was probably supposed to be done for Cube Combination 3. So basically, what ended up happening was that Cube Combination, I was developing both Cube Combination The Return and Cube Combination 3, aka I am making two updates at the same time, which is kind of silly to think about it. But you might be wondering, why why did it go from three mini bosses and one boss to multiple new bosses and every boss being reworked? Well, the answer was simple. Um, no, was simple. Was simple, kind of. All you needed to know is that it doesn't matter how good I make a boss. I can make the best boss known to man, so played really well, like the perfect phase transitions and all that. But it doesn't matter if the gameplay that accompanies with it, if everything else is just bad. You kind of have to understand in a way. In, Even if let's just face the fact, if I only wanted to make one boss and three mini bosses and finish that whole as an update, then this update would have been done 3 months ago. AKA this update would have only taken a month. That's how much additional time has been spent. However, I realized at some point that then if that was how the update was going to be made, then that's not going to be the revival that it aims to be. CCTR, or its main name being the Return, is not going to make a return for cube combination. It's simply just not gonna be that return. It's not gonna bring back the players. One small content update after a year of inactivity is not gonna save this game. So eventually, I started contemplating it until I reached the decision that screw it, fuck the original plan. Let's go further. In fact, even further, much further. So instead of one boss, three mini bosses, we've upgraded it to multiple bosses, multiple new bosses, of which some I've already previewed before. Multiple new bosses, a whole expansion of virtual location, multiple enemies, and the reworking and rebalancing. Well, not reworking every the rework of animations for every weapon, the rebalance of every weapon, including all that into one update. But that's not enough, is it? You can't make a good combat system without having good enemies. So we so in the end, the decision, rework the bosses too. And that's how we go. The bosses end up being reworked. However, the original enemy cast is rather uninspiring. It's all the only enemies there are swordsmen and spearmen, and that's the whole cast. In fact, Season 3 has its own cast. However, they're not as creative. They're very dull. It's the same thing, but add a spearman and shielder. Not good enough. Add more. We need more of this. More creativity, more ways to fight. The coils are being too powerful, so let's buff every other method of attacking. All of that, as you know. So in the end, what? So in the end, instead of being, so in the end, the goal of this whole thing, the reason why I've expanded the update so much is because that's what it needs. You can't, like I mentioned, you can't retitle and update the return and not have a big enough hook. And one thing I've discovered is that what's another month of waiting when everyone has already been waiting for a year? The bosses haven't changed in very long. Ever since the release, the bosses have been like that. So they all need to be reworked from the ground up, restarted from the beginning, and that's what this game needs. I'm not saying this if like I reworked the whole. I'm not. Okay, one main thing that you will need to know, however, what I did is I reworked the bosses, added new bosses, reworked the weapon animations and stat changes, maybe some new features, that. But you also need to understand, I did not make the game. I simply added on to the game. Yes, I reworked some bosses, but those were things that already existed. I am not I am not a savior of CC. That's what some people may get as impression from how I talk right now. And to be frank, Izuki is better at scripting than I am. I'm not some super proficient guy. However, unlike Izuki, I have the proper creative direction. That I can admit. But should it come to pure scripting skill wherein a problem needs to be fixed, I simply do not have that. So what you end up here is a kind of weird dynamic. In short, I'm basically the one who's making the whole update. Izuki, however, not making the whole update, but not the game itself. So basically, you have two scripters, me and Izuki, the owner of the Cube Combination. Uh, we're basically both working on two separate things. I am focusing on the update itself, changing the base game, the content, such and such. However, is the one is now doing all the frameworks, the core stuff, the things that I don't understand, such and such. So it's not as if like so. Don't forget, I am not saving anything. I am simply another addition to the to this cog of gears. However, just like any machine, it won't work if it has a missing gear. But I won't. But I'm not blind to it to realize that realistically, without me, this update would really not have come up together. Because simply put, the planning was bad. The planning was not good. It was very flawed. There's many holes, many issues. So in the end, they had to effectively plan the whole update up. No, the update, not the lore. Cordon handles that. Cordon's the one making the lore. So yeah, that's the update. So what you should be expecting is no longer an update. When you hear CC the return, don't expect an update anymore. Expect a rework. Not don't expect some kind of like new content. When this update releases, don't expect to just play the same way you do. You're going to have to switch up everything. You're going to have to make a new world for it too. You can't just play it normally as you would have when you started. Everything's changed. The bosses, the weapons, how the game works, the core features, this such and such. That's the point I wanted to make with everything being changed. Because let's face it, if after all this time the game decides to start updating and drip feeding content, this new small update won't hook you in. And let's say because you wouldn't be watching or listening into this audio if I hadn't released all these leaks. Preview 1, Preview 2, Preview 3, Preview 4, Rework 1, Rework 2, Rework 3. Let's say I ignore all of that. Let's say I only publish Preview 1 and that's it. Would you be here? In fact, would you even have the confidence that this update will release? In fact, if likely not. Simple as that. There's a lot of science, or not really lots, but there's a fair amount of technique or things that I've done. This update needs a hook. So when I first started working, there was one big problem. No one is expecting an update. Sure, leaks, but the last few leaks, Halloween, nothing. Christmas, nothing. So what? So why should I expect an update now? Why expect one after 1 year of no change? And that's not a bad assumption, by the way. It's in fact it's I'd argue it's the reasonable assumption. You shouldn't expect the game to suddenly deliver after making another promise that will fix everything. That would really not happen, not even close. So the only way to disprove that is to prove, obviously. So what they did was make leaks very easy, very common, very common leaks. As in like I post a leak, I actively talk about development, such and such. In short, information about the update is not so safeguarded. People kind of get to know more. That alone was enough to spike up some hype again. Then uh, that's kind of all it took really, because a simple like I've said this multiple times over, as if like it's some person with dementia, but a simple addition is not going to solve the problem that because okay, let's face it, I've said it before, but would you really be interested in this update if I only had preview 1? Would you even be interested if I'm not making this right now? Would you even be interested if I decided to be more secretive with the leaks and decided that instead of posting everything, well, not really posting everything per se, but to only post a few things? Would that have worked? Probably not. It, in fact, I doubt this. Even if you were someone who knew me, no one would really have been all that interested. In fact, that's kind of the issue. No one necessarily knows me back when I started development. Because don't forget, when I got into CC again as a developer, I'm the only thing people really knew me for there is that I was an administrator. Note was, and sure I made other things. I made games, but how can I? Could you really believe that I would somehow save this game? Which you wouldn't be wrong. Trying to save a whole game seems rather ambitious, especially for a game that's not very, bad things are buff. Like it doesn't give you confidence. It didn't give you confidence before, so why is it gonna give you confidence now? So in the end, a lot has to be done. So a lot has to be done in order for the update to succeed, and all of which I have tried. And in the end, I think it paid off. A lot has been done. A lot has succeeded, and I can say it's smooth sailing. However, I won't say it's fully smooth. So I have to so a lot happened. So a lot happened, but it did cost me, which was my time. I this whole thing costed me my summer break actually. So they don't have a lot of personal free time now because school started. In fact, it started about 2 days ago, and for the week coming for the week coming up to that, to school resuming, I decided to cancel all work. Specifically, we work tree, right? Uh, Reworking Poseidon. After that, that was when I decided to stop development for now, or at least until like next weekend after this, because it's rather. I've been working for like basically 50 days non-stop. To put that in perspective, I'm not saying I'm being overworked because I'm obviously working of my own free will. Don't take this as in like, oh, Izuki's abusing me to for treating me as a slave to work forever. That's not the case. That will never be the case. And if that was, I would simply quit and there would be no update. But yeah, that's all. That's what you can. That's all you have to really expect. If you want to summarize it to the best of your ability, if I could summarize it to the best of my ability, nothing will be the same after about a few months. But you're speaking of a few months, you might be wondering now, when is it releasing? The answer, I have no idea. I could say that the update would be releasing in a month, but that would be too optimistic. Maybe two, sure. It might be three, probably not. It definitely won't exceed 4 months though, that's for sure. But it depends on school. School, I'm now grade 10 and I'm like 16 now. Well, I'm 16 and grade 10. It hasn't been 2 days since I've been grade 10, and I've taken a pre-test for math, and God forbid, what the fuck am I looking at when it comes to math? I'm scared. Anyway, so there's a fair amount to look for. Uh, a lot of work to do, in terms of real life and also off life. I mean online. In real life and online, there's no work that can be escaped. God forbid, I need to up my ante. I need to get better at like properly organizing my time. But yeah, I think that's about all I can say for the update. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's all I had. All the points I want to make. So to close this off, let's talk future plans. What will happen after this update? Will I still be a developer after CCTR? Yes, I will, but not as active. I have my own games to make. I have my own projects. I can't focus on one thing forever. Because after all, I did sacrifice the growth of one game for this update. I still have IoT to focus on, so I can't forget about my old projects. I'm not a permanent. I'm not specifically a developer that's going to stay forever. If I had to guess, I might the longest I might stay with. I won't. I'm not a permanent developer for CC. If I had to say, I might help with CC for about a year to maybe 2 years at best, 2 years maximum. Because I have my own. Because I want to grow my own stuff as well. So after this update, expect much less content in general. Though in the end, I'm pretty sure Zuki and potentially others could make up for it. Because I'm not the only script. Because Izuki's the better scripter. The only issue he has is just he doesn't have the game design. Because if he did, then we wouldn't really be having these issues, would we? But yeah, that's all I have to say. It's 12 a.m. now on a school day. I just realized. What day is it? Oh god, it's July 31 now. Okay, it literally just became July 31. It's 12 a.m. I have school. Um, oh wait, oh no. Oh, thank God it's only the third day of school. There's no like quizzes. Oh wait, there is a quiz to do. What subject though? It's probably not that bad. I just need tape. That's all I need to bring tomorrow. Tape and index cards. Yeah, that's all. Yeah, okay. Sorry for this short ramble, but thanks for tuning in for this somewhat long audio related thing. But yeah, that's all I have to say. Good night.